last week and continue to do so. Thank you, and please continue. If you've got any extra food items, that you can literally just drive it back to the food bank and drop it off.
I understand they're serving about 250 families currently, so the need is still great. So if you can continue to help with that, that would be just a real blessing. The other thing that has happened over the course of this last week is I got an email this weekend from Pastor Luis. He tells the story of one of the families that's actually one of our sponsored kids. The father has cancer. He's a hotel worker. He's out of work. His family just got evicted from their home, and Luis says that they're actually sleeping in the city park right now. And Pastor Luis is doing his very best to provide for the families that are in such great need right now. So if there's anything that you could do to help us with that, that would be so greatly appreciated. The people in Mexico are literally starving, and really sad stories coming out of Mexico. So we need to all do our part to help them out right now.
I agree. It is actually a time to, a great time to be a part of the church where we can help one another and lift each other up. And not just in those physical needs, but also encouraging one another. I know at my house, there's been some hard days. I know for a lot of school districts, they just started online this week. How's that going at your home?
Oh, I was telling you earlier that when I left, everybody was in tears at home, so it's not going great right now, but we may have to hire a teacher to come and teach my kids because we're not very good teachers.
You're probably not the only one feeling like that. Well, in other quarantine news in your home, what has been, I don't know about anybody else, we have really gotten into snacks, and we've been eating a little bit more than usual.
Definitely.
What has been a favorite snack of yours?
Oh, we comfort foods. Anything comfortable, breads, those things that we typically kind of try to refrain from, they're kind of on our diet these days, yeah.
We have, for whatever reason, really gotten back into root beer floats and have been having that as a nightly treat.
Well, that sounds good. Now, we are getting our vegetables in because Anna made a carrot cake, so we are doing some vegetables as well.
I had carrot cake for breakfast this morning.
Well, there you go.
We also have some great news from our Woodinville and Lake Stevens campus.
Yeah, the building was actually shut down in Woodinville for a while, but they've opened the construction back up, and so that's going great right now. And then also an update in Lake Stevens that we've got all the plans submitted for the project in Lake Stevens. So things are moving forward, and it's exciting times for our campuses. Oh,
that is good. And especially with Woodinville, we hope and plan to open up our other preschool there this fall.
That's right. Yeah, this fall. That's right. Yeah.
I think you can check it out online for enrollments as well.
We're talking to the pastors from Lake Stevens and Woodinville. And Woodinville pastors are saying that they're really enjoying going to church these days because they can wear camo and they don't have to get real dressed up.
Well, and I've heard that setup and tear down have been going really well.
Yeah, it's really easy these days.
The transition to digital.
That's right. Then I don't even know if James wears pants on Sundays anymore. I don't know.
I want to share some information about our kids and youth services. If you have not yet checked those out, we have stuff for all of your kids. Birth through 5th grade, the services can be found every week and during the whole week at our Gold Creek Kids YouTube channel. And our youth is Encounter Youth channel, and that is for middle school and high school both. So please check it out. And it's fun to watch as a family together too.
My kids have been tuning in, and I've even heard Jaden upstairs listening to one of the services on his own, not even having to send him there. So I think the kids are going to benefit from this.
On the high school one, I've noticed my senior gets on there and he's chatting with a lot of them. And just like the rest of us, they are missing that connection with their friends for sure.
But again, our services, I think, are really strong these days. The music has just been outstanding. I can't quit talking about that because they're doing a great job.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. So with that, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's service as well. Have a great week.
Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.
His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and your children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and their children, and their children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and their children, and their children, and their children. May his presence go before you and
Hey everyone, man, I hope you've been enjoying our worship set. We have an incredibly talented worship team, and I'm so proud of what they've been putting together. And before we go to the next song, I wanted to just give an opportunity for you. Maybe you've tuned in and you've just kind of stumbled upon us. Maybe you were invited by a friend, and you've just been kind of going through your life and feeling like something is missing. And so you're here, you can definitely feel a tug from God saying, hey, come follow me. And this is your opportunity. And what I'd like for you to do is on the screen here, a number will pop up, and I'd like for you to text that number the word Jesus. That's all you have to do is the word Jesus. If you just feel like you're missing something and that God is that thing that you're missing, text Jesus. And we will connect with you today to walk you through what that looks like. Maybe you've never put your faith in Jesus, so this is going to be the first time that you do this. We want to walk through this with you. Maybe it's a recommitment or a reconnection. You used to walk with Jesus when you were younger, and now you're wanting to reconnect. We want to walk with you. Or maybe you just have some questions. We want to walk with you. And so this is that opportunity. We would love to be a part of this with you. There's the number. Text Jesus. Let us be a part of your journey. Let's enjoy the rest of worship.
The chasm that lay between us, how high the mountain I could not climb. In desperation, I turned to heaven and spoke your name into the night. Then through the darkness, your loving kindness tore through the shadows of my soul. The work is finished, the end is written. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Who could imagine so great a mercy? What heart could fathom such boundless grace? The God of ages stepped down from glory to wear my sin and bear my shame. The cross has spoken, I am forgiven. The King of Kings calls me his own. Beautiful Savior, I'm yours forever. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Come on. Hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah. Death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Come on, sing again. Hallelujah. Praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah. Death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. The buried body began to ring. Out of the silence, The roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Sing. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your very body began to break out of the silence. The roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Oh, Jesus, yours is the victory. Hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Come on, sing again. Hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Jesus Christ, my living hope. God, you are my living
Hi, I'm Jessie.
And I'm Shauna. Welcome to Gold Creek. We are so glad that you're here. If this is your first time joining us online, make sure you fill out our new family form. You can find that in the comments as well as at goldcreek.org. And that helps us thank you for being here as well as keep you in the know about everything Gold Creek.
We're wondering, what's the favorite thing that you've made while you've been at home? I'm gonna say that it's a chicken enchilada soup that my picky eater actually enjoys.
And I made some pretty good cilantro lime chicken shared from our Gold Creek Mops Facebook group. So we want you to share below what's your favorite thing that you've cooked this quarantine.
So everything happened when my mom got divorced when she was pregnant with me. She was in Mexico with my dad, and then my mom decided to move to the United States because she was getting divorced. And we were living here on the household. It was my aunt, my uncle, and my grandpa, and one of my cousins that it was an older guy. My cousin, it was sexually touching me. I consider he was like raping me every single day since I was 6 till I was 11. And I stopped because my grandpa decided to take me back to Mexico. And believe it or not, but I forget this guy. I forgive him. Last year, New Year's, I shake his hand. And he gave me a hug. So, God can.
All right, hey guys, welcome this morning to another Sunday morning here, and it's starting to become almost normal, which is strange, right? And so today we're starting a new series. We're starting our God Can series a little bit early this year. Typically we do this in May, but we felt like timing-wise there's just a lot of stuff happening right now, and so we wanted to not focus on the fear of what's happening, but focus on our faith. And so today's sermon is actually called Stimulate Generosity. And there's a reason why we use those words, and you'll find out here in a second. But our finances seems to be on everyone's mind right now. There's our job situation. Some of us have jobs that are essential and we're working, and some they're on the cusp of being cut, and some they have been cut or we're in furlough. The economy is just, they're predicting that it's not going to do well, and there's a possible recession, and there's the rise and fall of the housing market, and there's all this scary stuff out there. And so major questions start popping into our heart and in our head, like what's going to happen next? And how long will this happen? Well, we know we can't control our futures. We just can't. There's nothing we can do during this time to control our future, right? But is there really nothing we can do? Well, we're going to dive into that. We're going to look at some of the myths and truths about the stuff that God gives us and the stuff that we take for granted. And so let's dive in here. We're going to have some fun with this. And so we're going to start in Acts chapter 4, verse 32. And some of you are very, very familiar with this. This is the story of the early church, right? The believers right after Jesus ascended were gathering together, and they were creating these moments and these opportunities with each other. And so here's an example where it says, all the believers were united in heart and in mind, and they felt that what they owned was not their own. So they shared everything that they had. I love that verse because there's a myth. The first myth that we're going to talk about is that everything is mine. It's mine. We are taught that what we have is ours, that we earn this, that we deserve this, that we need this. And if you've ever had a sibling growing up, then you know what this means, right? When your sibling has something that's yours and you say, this is mine, right? And you take it from them, or you have something that's theirs and this is mine. This is my toothpaste. This is my toothbrush. Don't use my toothbrush, which yes, don't do that. That's gross. And then you get married, right? His and hers. My area, my stuff, my curling iron. Well, what if I want to use your curling iron, wife? And so there, some things are off limits. And then you have kids, right? And now they start to say, this is mine to their siblings. And the cycle just repeats and it repeats. Man, I remember going through drive-through one time, and my kids are actually really good about sharing with me. They're terrible with sharing with each other, but they're great with sharing with me. And for 98% of the time, if I ask for something, they'll give me some of it, whether it's a sip, a bite, whatever it is. And I remember one time I gave fries to all my kids, and I asked for just one fry from one of my kids, and he said no. And he's like, no, these are mine, Dad. And I just, in that moment, I felt like, oh, he's being so selfish. Does he not realize that I could turn this car around, go back through the drive-thru, and order enough orders of French fries to bury that kid? I mean, I could just order that many. I could physically do that if I wanted to, and yet he can't give me one. And I remember just sitting there going, son, who provided those for you? And he goes, you did, Dad. And I said, can you give one back to your dad? And he's like, yes, Dad. And he actually gave me back two. So it was kind of a cool learning experience. But the truth is, it's mine, but really the alternate is the truth, and we're going to show the truth here. It's that God provides. It's not our own. What we have is not our own. When you really think about it, really think about the stuff that you have, the stuff that is in your account, the stuff that you drive. Do you really possess anything? And I'm not talking relationships here, right? I'm not talking about relationships, but stuff. Do you really possess anything that can't be taken away? We're talking houses, cars, money, anything that we have we could lose, to theft, to the downturn in economy, to natural disasters. There's nothing that we have that is permanent. And if we start to look at what we have in the terms of as stewards, it really does change how we behave and act throughout the day and throughout the week and month and year. It could change, from day to day. Obviously, some days you're feeling it, some days you're not. But when we look at the word steward, the actual word means to take care of something, that it's your job to take care of something. And if we look at it this way, that we are God's stewards, that we are stewards for God's wealth, then we can look at what we have as a resource for God to use. Think about what we could accomplish as a church if, like in Acts 4, we do these kinds of things where we see what we have and we understand that this is something that God has given us, and we can use this to bless others. And we'll get to that in a second, but first, I'm going to talk about a step. After every myth, after every truth, I'm going to talk about a faith step that we can take. And so let's go over the first faith step. First one is tithe and trust. So in Malachi, this very famous verse for offerings and things like that, bring all the tithes into the storehouse so that there will be enough food in my temple. If you do, says the Lord of heavenly armies, I will open the windows of heaven for you. I will pour out a blessing so great you will not have enough room to take it in. Try it. Put me to the test. God uses the word tithe here, and the word itself means tenth, a tenth of what you have. Today, the word tithe is connected to church, right? It just is. That's where it is most commonly used. Your employer doesn't say you're going to tithe 10% to Medicare. That's not how they say it, right? It goes to the church. And the reason we do this is not, and I'm going to say it real clearly here, the reason we tithe is not to pay the pastors. The reason we tithe is not to pay for the building. I don't want your money. And if you think that all I ever want is your money, then I'd be happy for you. If you went to another church and tithed generously, I would be so excited for you. Not because I don't want you at my church, but because I'm excited that you are spiritually growing. And if I'm the reason why you're not spiritually growing, then take that next step. And I know that sounds bizarre that a pastor would say, leave my church. That's not what I'm saying, and I think you guys understand this. But it's not about giving your finances to me. It's about giving your finances to God. It's a faith step. If you've noticed, there's a ladder behind me, and if we use this ladder as kind of an analogy for our faith, it helps paint a picture of what I'm trying to explain here. I believe that the first step is your calling, right? Is when you say yes to God. God, I believe in you. I believe that you sent Jesus. I believe he died for me. I believe that he rose again, and I'm going to be a follower of Christ. I believe that's the first step, and you step up, and that is when your spiritual journey and maturity begins. And then with each congruent step, you have serving, and you have, connecting with other believers. And as you, spiritually grow, all of these things start happening. And I also believe that another step, and one of the higher steps, one of the ones that are harder to reach, is the idea of tithing. Because if you're like me, you like to be in control. If you're like me, you don't like to release control of things like this. I like to drive. I like to handle the finances. It's a control thing for me. And so the idea of giving away what is mine, right? Again, going back to the first myth, can be almost scary. And I believe that's why it's one of the hardest levels and one of the hardest steps to take, is because the idea of control just grips our fears. But see, when God says to do this, he's not doing it because, again, he needs your money. He doesn't. He doesn't have a Venmo account in heaven that he's like, oh yeah, he's not accruing all of this. He wants your heart. He wants to know that you're all in. He wants to know that there is no aspect of your life that is off limits to him. And so he asks for something that is a huge deal for most of us. I'm going to circle back to that in a second. Let's go to the next verse here. It says, verse 33, the apostles testified powerfully to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and God's great blessing was upon them all. Myth number 2, my bankroll is my blessing. We are taught that money brings happiness, right? If you watch TV ads, if you watch shows, you read any kind of, what's happening. We're just taught that money brings happiness, that financial security makes you happy, that luxury equals contentment. And I know that sometimes, we feel like maybe that's true, and sometimes we don't feel like that's true, and I don't know where you are on the spectrum of that, but the acquirement of more doesn't necessarily bring you happiness. It doesn't. If you haven't noticed, there's a cake here on stage, and for me, and I'm going to share this, I'm not really a cake dessert kind of person. Every once in a while you get the craving, right? But I'm a salty versus a sweet, so I'd rather have a bag of chips than a piece of cake. But there is one type of cake that I cannot resist, and it is Costco sheet cake. I don't know what they put in it. It's got to be some sort of LSD or drugs or something, because I can't stop eating it. And I see it, I smell it, and I want some of it. This is the only cake. And so you guys, this is nuts. And this is chocolate on chocolate. So it's chocolate cake with chocolate frosting. And then of course, it says happy birthday. It's not my birthday, but Pastor Dan's birthday is coming up. And so we thought it'd be fun to do this. But if I ate this whole cake right now in front of you, online, live, if I, took out this thing and I just started taking a bite after bite, and it took me the rest of this, sermon here for me to eat this cake, by the end of this, you know what would happen? I would break my almost 2-decade-long streak of being vomit-free. I promise you that. This would not even make it. It is impossible, right? It would come back out. I cannot eat all of this. And nor do I really want to. Because when we want to take this myth and we want to bust it, the truth is that if we go to truth number 2, blessings come from sharing. This cake is so much better if you share it. I want to paint you a different picture. Let's say it's your birthday right now on screen. If it is, happy birthday from virtual church. You know, if it's your birthday today, it's amazing, right? And I know with the quarantine, it really changes birthday parties and things like that, but you've had many more before and we'll have many more after. But for me personally, I would rather share, if it's my birthday and I have this cake, I don't want to eat this cake by myself. I want my friends and family and people that I love around me. I want them singing happy birthday to me. And I want the joy of cutting into this cake. I'm trying to do this without dumping the cake on the ground. The joy of cutting into this cake and pulling off a big old corner chocolate piece. And some people like these corner pieces. You know, and you pull this off and you hand it to a person. Jeremy, you want a piece, buddy? I know you said you did. Good luck eating this without a fork. Boom. The weird hand coming off the screen, off the stage, right? And you know, I'm gonna cut out a couple more pieces because there's a bunch of you that said you wanted some. This is more joyful to me, is to share this cake. And Cammie, I'm gonna give you a big old piece because you like chocolate. And so I'm gonna put that on here, right there. We're gonna pass this on, another hand from within. Yes, okay. Jordan, you want a piece, buddy? Let's have some fun with this. Ooh, another, oh, that was almost bad. I almost dumped it everywhere. Boom. There you go. Awesome. So, you know, anyone else that wants a piece of cake, I will give you a piece of cake afterwards because I still can't eat all of this. But that's where the joy comes. I would rather have that experience with sitting with other people that love me and that I love and sharing this with them versus sitting alone in a room by myself eating this. Right? Do you see the difference? Real blessings come when we live for God. And that's the analogy that I'm trying to paint here. Our faith step here is that we need to understand that what God has given us, we can give to others. And so the faith step, as we look at it, is share your faith and meet a need. Call people, text people, Zoom, FaceTime, Google, Hangout, WebEx, whatever you can find. There's a new one called House Party. It's a new app that you can use. Sharing our faith, focusing on others instead of ourselves. These are things that we can do. We can look for these opportunities to share what we have. And yes, sometimes we can do it financially and sometimes we can do it spiritually. And I'm going to talk about both here in a second. But you know what I do and what I've been doing lately is I've had to train myself to do this. It wasn't always natural for me to do this, where I would start to look for people and a need that they might have. It's just something that I've started doing probably in the last year. And what I do is, like when I go to the store or to the gas station today, I went to go get a Costco sheet cake. A lady's battery was dead, and so I was going to jump her battery, and all the attendants came out and said, no, you guys can't do that. We have a thing for this. We don't want to start a fire. And so, you know, whatever, but it was a thought that counts. And so I'm always looking for these opportunities. And just a few days ago, I was at Walmart, and there was a guy trying to load this giant patio set in the back of his truck. And, you know, he's doing one of these and he's like trying to lift it with his leg. And, you know, I ran over there and I grabbed a corner and I'm like, here, let me help you with this. Let me help you with this. And I just lifted it up and I put it in his truck with him. And, you know, and we didn't shake hands because of social distancing. We gave the high five from like here. And so it was one of those, but it was just something that I look for now. And I just left with, hey, have a great day today. That's it. That's all I said to him. What do you think would happen if we did this more? Because I have said those things and I've done those things before, and the next question comes up, why did you stop for me? Then I can share openly because now they're open. Well, I stopped for you because I believe in helping others because God has helped me so much. And it becomes almost natural. Share your faith and meet a need. Let's keep going. We got a couple more things we got to get through here. Verse 34, and there was no needy people among them, because those who owned land or houses would sell them and bring the money to the apostles to give to those in need. And and then he gives an example. For instance, there was Joseph, the one the apostles nicknamed Barnabas, which means son of encouragement. He was from the tribe of Levi and came from the island of Cyprus. He sold a field he owned and brought the money to the apostles. He gave an example. Myth 3, save before you give. I know a lot of people have said that. As soon as I have enough, I'll start giving. The reality is you can't take what you have. When we die, we can't take what we've earned and all those things with us. They're here, right? We can't take our wealth with us. And really, when we think about this, our needs are really just wants. When you really break it down, the things that we think we need are really just wants. Because we know that the basic needs that we have, actual needs, is food, clothing, and shelter, right? I mean, that's the basic needs. Everything else are things that we prefer, want, are excited about. And I get that. Contentment is very hard. You know, one of my friends, Paul, and you guys know he does the offering talks for us when we have live services and things like that. But Paul, he was sharing this very interesting psychological study that he was reading about contentment, where, you know, people would go to these luxurious 5-star hotels and they would spend time at these 5-star hotels, and, you know, everything's brought to them, and the linens and the sheets and everything is perfect, and the, you know, everything's just as best you can, gold plated this, and then of course you leave and come back and everything's turned, you know, back up and everything's reset for you, and it's just this amazing experience. And then you go home and you don't have that experience, and you start looking around. Even if you have a huge home and you're doing amazingly and you have this luxurious home, it's still not the same. And so in your heart you're like, how do I get my home to look like this? How do I get my home to be like this? And the idea that we have enough all of a sudden kind of goes, well, I don't really have as much as I thought I needed, and so I need more. And it becomes this unending circle. And so he and I jokingly said, well, you need to start staying at Roach Motels and things like that, because then when you get home, you're going to be like, wow, 5-star home. And so I think you should do that next time. Go to the 1-star hotels on Yelp, not the 4 stars, okay? It'll help you with contentment, because we need to, you know, again, we just want more the next time, and that's how it works. And so let's go to the truth of this. Save before you give before you save. Again, I want to say, I'm not trying to make you feel bad if you have a lot, if you have a savings account, if you have a retirement, if you have a big home. I'm not saying that at all. My focus is on what we do with what we are given. I have a friend who all of us would consider very rich, multi-millionaire rich. He is and has been for a long time. And what's awesome about this friend of mine is that he is one of the most generous men and people that I know. He tithes above and beyond more than anyone I've seen. Even if, you know, he's not sure that it's going to budget, you know, equal out, he still commits and he tithes. And he started that way right out of college. Like, he was a young guy and he would give 10%, and he just started at 10. And as he got more and more, you know, established in his job, he kept upping that number. And, you know, he started as a 20-something other, but then even now as almost a 50-year-old, he's one of the most generous guys I know, because he started stimulating his generosity at an early age. And so when we're talking about our faith step here, and this is, I think, our last faith step, is we need to stimulate generosity in whatever way that we can. And here's what I mean, okay? I want to explain to you, and this is, you know, normally we would do an offering talk like right before this message. I don't know if you noticed, we actually didn't do an offering talk. And the reason is I want to share an idea that we came up with that we want to try here at Gold Creek. And it's going to sound a little nuts, but if you've been a part of Gold Creek for a while, you know that sometimes we do things that are a little nuts. We swing the bat, we try to hit a home run. And so when we were putting this series together, and in light of what's been happening for the last 5 to 6 weeks, and more people that I've been talking to that have said, yeah, I'm in furlough, I've lost my job, they've put me on hiatus until this blows up. All of these things that are happening has really started weighing on our hearts as pastors. And so we came up with this idea that there is a stimulus check coming for most of us. For most of us, right? There's a few that, you know, obviously they make too much and they don't get any, and then there's some that don't qualify. But the majority of us are going to get some sort of a stimulus check. And so what we were thinking is, we are in different places in our lives and in our financial lives. And again, I'm not going to call you individually and say, let me see your books so that I can, you know, not doing that. This is not about me. This is about you. And so our challenge is we want to set up a program, if you will, for lack of a better term. We want to set up a database. We want to set up an opportunity for you, if you have margin, to give your stimulus check to someone who does not. And we're going to have a link here at the bottom. It's a giving link, or it's a stewardship link kind of thing, where you just click on it and you can either say, I want to give money, or I have needs. And so there's 2 ways that you can go with that, and you'll see the link there in the comment box. Go ahead and click on that if, you know, as soon as you get a chance here. But what I love about this is, let's say, you know, you can't, you know, you need some of your stimulus check, and that's okay. And maybe there's just some of it that you don't need, and you're like, hey, I only need half, and so I want to give half to someone who needs it. Great. Commit to that. Or maybe you have enough margin and you can give your whole check. Great. Awesome. But what I would love to see our family do, our church family do, as soon as you get that, the first thing I want us to do, and I want us to practice stimulating generosity, is I want us to tithe 10% from that back to God, right? 10% back to God because God's providing for you in this moment. And then with the rest of it, I want you to take it and really examine your heart to see if you have the margin to give to someone else. And so what we're going to try to do, and here's what's going to happen. None of this money is going to come to the church. The money that you give out of your stimulus check that's after tithe, we're not getting any of it. You're not handing it to us and then we're dispersing it. We don't want to do this. What we want to do is we want to generate connection and community. And so if there's already someone that you can think of, and maybe it's your neighbor that you know they lost their job, and you want to just personally give them your stimulus check, great. We encourage you to do so. You don't have to go through this program. We're just trying to make our community more connected by giving and being generous. And so at the end of this, you click on this, and you might have some people that you already know of. We'll give that to them. If you can't think of anyone, there's people that I know of that we'll try to connect you with. And so you give and you go to this thing and you commit to this, and then there's going to be a database, and someone who's going to manage that database is going to just connect you with the other person and say, here's their phone number, give them a call, and you guys can set up a time to do that. And we're going to try our very best to sift through as much as possible and to to create the needs based off of what we think is the strongest, and so we're going to try to do that best we can. We're not going to be perfect. You guys know there's going to be people that are going to just come in and probably try to take, and that's just the reality of it. We're going to do our best, and there's going to be some people whose needs we can't meet. We're going to try to do our best, but it doesn't matter, honestly, and here's why I say that. It's not about when we're talking about generosity, it's not about what they do, it's about your heart. And we're trying to exercise our heart. We're trying to grow the generosity that's already inside of us. And so it doesn't matter if they lie. It doesn't matter if they ask for more than they actually need. That's not about them, it's about you, it's about me. And so my encouragement, my challenge to you is don't worry about that. Let God figure that part out. If God is telling you right now, I'm giving you this gift, you have margin, give it back, then do that. We're going to try to do that with our check as well too, if we get one. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that works. And so, we read that it's magically going to appear in our account, and so we'll just see how that works. But we plan on doing it as a family as well too. But I encourage you to do that. And when all those needs come up, we'll try to meet as many as we can for as long as we can. And we just want to be that encouragement. We want to be that blessing. And we want to do this because we love God, because we're going to that next step of spiritual maturity, because we believe that God can. And if we were a church live right now, that's what we'd be doing. We would have the God Can up here on stage. I would say, all right, bring your commitments of your stimulus that we're going to give to these people that just need our help. Just like in the early church, those that had more gave to those that needed. That's what we're doing. And we would place those in the God Can, and we would, give those to him and let him figure this out, and then we would connect you guys. And so we are doing the same thing. We're just doing it virtually. And so that link will be available. Click on it. The second thing I want to ask is, if you haven't tithed, I encourage you, try it. Start it. Do the 90-day tithe challenge. We would love for you to take that next step and to release control. And then my last group, those of you guys that are already tithing, awesome. Keep it up. I'm so proud of you guys. There are people this year that have stepped up, and they were on the fence about whether or not to tithe, and they've been tithing faithfully, and I am so proud of them. And I just want to say their names out loud. I'm not going to, because I don't want to embarrass you, but I'm so insanely proud of them. Not because that they're giving me money, but because they have relinquished control to God. And my heart exploded when I would see these people giving in generosity. And so for me, for you, for us, for our church, for our community, I want us to be the people, the family, the church that is known as the one that is generous to their community. And so that is my challenge to you guys. Click on that link if you have margin. Maybe you're not getting a stimulus check and you just have margin just because you're doing well and you just want to commit. That's fine too. We would love for you to be a part of this, to be a part of generosity, to be a part of this movement that is going to help our economy and our community. Let me pray for you, and then we'll be done. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for all that you do, for the love and the grace and the provisions that you give us, God. Sometimes it's hard to see beyond the clouds and the gray. And you're just standing on the other side saying, just keep walking, I'm here. And so I just pray for those people that are in the cloud, that are in the gray, that are worried. I pray that your voice comes out through them, to them right now. Just keep walking, I'm here. Lord, help us to be a church that is known as a generous church. Help us to be one that sees the needs around us and wants to meet them. We're so thankful, God, for all your provisions, and we ask for continued blessings as we are faithful with what we've been given. And ask for this in Jesus' name, amen. Again, reminder, love you guys. I'm so proud of you guys. If you have margin, give once you get it. If you want to give some of it, all of it, let's bless the people in our lives right now that are going to be struggling in the next week and 2, 3, 4 weeks. And so have a great day, and I'll see you guys soon.